Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. News just in is that the former Prime Minister of Haiti, Ariel Henry, has succumbed to pressure from the gang leader, Jimmy Cheriza, and he has resigned. If you look at all the international media, whether it's the Reuters, CNN, BBC, that is the news that is grabbing headlines. And I want to pick my headline from BBC. And it is reported Haiti's unelected prime minister reportedly resigns. And then it goes ahead to say that Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry has agreed to resign. The chair of the Caribbean group of countries has said following weeks of mounting pressure and increasing violence in the country. It comes after regional leaders met in Jamaica on Monday to discuss a political transition in Haiti. Mr. Henry is currently stranded in Puerto Rico after being prevented by armed gangs from returning home. He had led the country since the former president's assassination in July 2021. Speaking following the meeting in Kingston, Jamaica, Caribbean Community Chair and Guyanan President Ifan Ali said, "We acknowledge his resignation upon the establishment of a transitional presidential council and the naming of an interim prime minister. Heavily armed gangs have controlled the streets of the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince in recent days, demanding the resignation of the unelected prime minister." Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching our channel for the first time, kindly subscribe and click the notification bell to allow YouTube to notify you whenever we release a video like this. Please share our videos and give this particular video a thumbs up. I want to thank you in a very special way if you're our regular viewer and all those who support this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I have analyzed Haiti now for more than 5 times, and as I indicated, this Haiti thing is not ending any soon. And yesterday I told you that in the coming weeks and months, it is going to be the talk of the day. Because when William Ruto came up with the plans that he wanted to lead nations to go and restore peace in Haiti, several questions were brought forward. Our country is far away from the Caribbean Haiti. And the US that is pushing William Ruto to do this is the most powerful country in the world with the well-endowed military and arsenal. And people are wondering why they could not take the initiative to be there to lead the nations if they wanted. In fact, in one of the houses in the US, they voted against sending any military or police to Haiti. And then things have become from bad to worse because Jimmy Cheriza, aka Opaque, who is the gang leader, ferocious gang leader there, had warned the nations that wanted to go there under the guise of restoring peace. And when Ariel Henry left the country on 25th of last month and attended some meeting, then he came to Kenya and signed a pact that Kenya had to take 1,000 soldiers, despite the fact that Kenyan courts had ruled against it and considered it unconstitutional. Jimmy told the Prime Minister never to set foot on that soil again. You can imagine you are the leader of that country and you are told you cannot set foot. And they took control of the airport, of police stations. And you remember Jimmy Cheriza was a former police in that country. They invaded police cells and jails and they released very dangerous gang leaders there. And they were telling them, we are fighting for our country. And they demanded that Ariel Henry must resign. As we speak, Chariza is taking control of everything. And the US realized that things were turning from bad to worse. And in the middle of the night, they had to rush to secure their embassy and evacuated some non-essential staff, telling you that things are bad. Back in our country in Kenya, despite all the warning from experts, despite all the threats from the gangs, our president insisted on taking the 1,000 policemen to Haiti, despite the fact that we speak English majorly and Haiti speaks French, despite the fact that there is a court order that is barring Kenya from sending 1,000 soldiers. William Ruto insisted. Now, there are videos that have come up where the gangs are roasting body parts of their fellow countrymen and they are eating them. You can imagine that is the situation. We cannot share those videos here because YouTube does not allow. But if you check, you'll realize that these people have turned to cannibals and they are eating their own fellow men. The country is burning. Rape, torture, maiming and killing. Now, if William Ruto thought that it was a joke, then I believe what has happened is going to show him that indeed Haiti is not a walk in the park, because the gangs had demanded that Ariel Henry must resign, and he has succumbed to the demands. That tells you that things are bad there, because uongozi ni tamu, power is so sweet. You don't just accept to relinquish power. For him to resign, it means there was a lot of pressure. Now, some of the things that we need to understand is that the Caribbean countries are under one umbrella, and the Guyanan president had convened a meeting to try and look for a truce. And we are realizing that this is a political problem. Number one, after the assassination of their last president in 2021, there was a caretaker government that was led by Ariel Henry. And the Haitians are only demanding for one thing, which is their democratic right. Let them go for a free, fair, and democratic election so that they elect their president. That is it. And I don't know why the US does not want the country to go into an election. I know under the current situation, it's not very easy to go for an election because it is very chaotic. There is a lot of mayhem. But if these people can be told that we need to put up structures, UN can do that very fast. Instead of forcing some countries, forcing Kenya, after taking some money, to go and lead peacekeeping mission, something that is almost next to impossible, they should tell Jimmy Chariza and all those interested stakeholders so that they can arrange on how to go for an election. This is a political problem that must be solved politically. No arms, no arsenals, no weapons, because they are grieved. And Kenyans can understand what is happening, because America is fond of electing leaders, forcing leaders down the throat of the citizens. They want leaders who will dance to their tune, and they have a lot of interest. In fact, I want to say here that America is the author and the finisher of the problems in Haiti. If they decide to bring sanity in that country, they would do without involving young nations like Kenya. They have the best military. They are closer to that country. I don't know why they don't want to do this. And so, when these people sat down for a meeting in Kingston, Jamaica, they prevailed upon Ariel Henry, and he has resigned. This tells you that things are not very easy. And this must come as a warning to William Samoei Ruto. This thing does not need political, it does not need, violence, because our Kenyan policemen are not trained to respect law and order. This was seen, and it is in the UN records, that they butchered their people during demonstrations and during Corona curfew. So if they import that kind of atrocity and they meet the gang leaders, they will die. We are taking our soldiers to a butcher house. And Ruto must now understand that things are not easier. Just yesterday, the Interior CS Kithure Kindiki, acting under pressure and order from Ruto, announced that we are ready to go to Haiti as soon as yesterday. And this is after the State Department called William Ruto, and there were complaints that we are delaying, that Ruto is very slow on taking 1,000, policemen to Haiti. And these people know very well that there are court injunctions, there are warnings. The police themselves are on a go slow. They don't want to do this. In fact, if you want to know that things are serious, even the US itself did not send policemen when they wanted to secure their embassy. They sent US Marine soldiers. If US understands what is happening and they send soldiers, yet they want the Kenya policemen to go to Haiti, don't you think we are being butchered? Our policemen will come back in body bags. If they thought it was that easy, they would have sent the policemen. But due to the seriousness, they sent their soldiers. The last thing that people are asking, where are the gangs getting their weapons and arsenals? This is a war between superpowers. When the US has decided to support an illegitimate government, I have a feeling that Jimmy Charissa is getting support from the other opposing superpower like the East. And if William Ruto would want to get into a war that he does not understand, he needs to think twice. Ladies and gentlemen, my point is, with the resignation of Ariel Henry, things are tough, and William Ruto must understand that he cannot take soldiers. Now, there is another caretaker government that has been, presidential council that has been constituted to help restore peace in that land. I don't know how this renders the agreement that William Ruto signed between himself and Ariel Henry. I don't know whether it is going to be taken as a G to G, a government to government. If it is a government to government, then it is Kenya versus Haiti. If it was Ruto and Ariel Henry, then this agreement is null and void. I want to end by saying this. I would want to ask our beloved president to go to Haiti himself. If he comes back alive, then we will send our soldier, our policemen to Haiti. But we cannot do that. Even our policeman who we sent died very mysteriously in one of the lounges in one of the motels where he had sojourned in the US. It is still unresolved. So if William Ruto wants to insist, even after the warning and the threats, intimidations, and the resignation of Ariel Henry, let him go there first. If he comes back alive, then we shall take our soldiers. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my take.